Hey Iconics wrestling fans, welcome back to the AEW Dynamite Duo Review with myself, JVL, and...
Hi everybody, I'm in my office, because I'm a professor, and I work at a college. I wasn't lying to you, I was telling you the truth.
And of course, with you, our favorite Dynamite Duo partner. Could this fallout from All Out Dynamite live up to the pay-per-view it came after?
Maybe.
Could new storylines be created and new stars pushed?
Yeah.
Would the presence of CM Punk be missed?
Probably not.
Well, since he never appeared on Dynamite, I'm gonna go with a no on that last one.
I mean, yeah, no.
However, as an online wrestling YouTube channel, we are contractually obligated to mention CM Punk at least once in each review.
Yeah, that's a thing. We kind of have to.
So, with that taken out of the way, let's light the fuse and bring the boom.
Boom!
When we talk about growing as a performer, Orange Cassidy has proven that he has the blueprint not only to evolving a character through opportunity, but then holding on to the core of what that performance is and not letting go of the original character. Tonight, Cassidy, again, opens the show as he has for over 31 defenses of the international title. And he comes out to us as a former international title holder, gives us a promo. But it's the perfect promo. Perfect! We see how over Orange is by this promo itself. Even before he speaks, the crowd is giving him a standing ovation. They're chanting, "Thank you, Orange! Thank you, Orange!" like a crew of unruly pirates who just realized their scurvy is about to be cured. This was a perfect promo. Short, to the point, he states that doctors told him to stay home. He said nah, and that he was going to be here every week because he's Orange Cassidy, freshly squeezed, and he does not have a catchphrase. Within 2 lines of dialogue, he has showcased what's in the future for him, who he is as a character, and what this means to him. This did more for Cassidy than the entirety of Promo Fest 2023. Right after this promo, his music hits, and we get a new wrinkle or change in how Dynamite moves. And I don't know if I'm okay with this yet, but we get Orange Cassidy leaving the ring and Moxley's entrance just starts for the next match. And the two of them have an interaction because while the last segment is still leaving, the new one is moving in. There's no room for breath.
Sometimes when people are doing clown work, not like birthday clown stuff, but like actual legit Italian style commedia clown work, we're laughing at their pain. And I wasn't laughing at Orange Cassidy, but there's this sense of clown here where it's sort of, you're in the darkness, everything sucks, we're all looking at you, and you can't hide. And Orange Cassidy held it in. It was pretty captivating to watch. I really liked it.
We even do get Moxley acknowledging Cassidy on the ramp, where he gives him a kind of little shake of the head and then goes back into his entrance, but there is an acknowledgement of what they went through. Meanwhile, Cassidy is standing there, no emotion shown, listening to this music, trying to get involved, and allowing the audience to place whatever emotions they might feel about his loss onto him there. He's giving supreme main character energy. Professor, as an acting teacher, I'm just wondering what you thought of this entire exchange.
I love this interaction. I think it's a brilliant choice by creative or anyone who's making these decisions. Orange Cassidy hanging his head, walking up the ramp as that music plays, and then sharing a moment with AR Fox and Darby kind of at the top. Oh, so good. Something that's interesting is they don't break the tension here, they sit in it, which a lot of wrestlers have a hard time doing. When it gets awkward or feels weird, they try and find something else to do. No, Orange Cassidy sits in it.
We're now into the next match. It's Jon Moxley versus AR Fox for the International Championship. And I love that Moxley is continuing the trend of bringing the International Championship to the first match of the night and really giving it that gravitas. AEW definitely knows what they're doing with this title here, and they gave it to the right person to continue this lineage. Now he takes on AR Fox, who is accompanied by Darby Allin to the ring, but not with Nick Wayne, which will come into play later in the evening. Professor, I'm curious your thoughts on putting this match so high on the card, this early in the night, and whether this was just a standard Moxley match, or did AR Fox's more gritty, high-flying style fit better with his brawling brute style? This, honestly, was a more competitive match than I thought it would be. It went longer than 5 minutes, and it got Fox in there landing some pretty decent offense. At the end of this match, the booking committee got to further 3 different storylines. This was Mox and Cassidy at the top. We had Darby and AR Fox, their whole thing of forgiveness and being there for each other. And we had Nick Wayne and Darby, the sort of falling out because Nick obviously can't forgive AR Fox for what he did to him with all the beatings 2 or 3 weeks ago, yet Darby seems okay with it. Continuity. It's refreshing.
That's good continuity. Yeah, but in my opinion, this got messy. We have 3 storylines that are kind of colliding and we don't know where to go. I think Darby forgave AR Fox too fast. I think Nick obviously has to hang on to the fact that he was almost murdered in his parents' garage. Like, you don't just forget that. Kind of see where this is going. It just feels rushed to me. They didn't let any of this breathe.
Darby comes back out to check on AR Fox after he's lost the match, and that leaves Nick Wayne backstage alone where they were watching on a monitor as everyone's favorite deadbeat dad, Christian Cage, comes in to put his point out there, so to speak. Christian does the best impression of those 90s guys with the big fuzzy hats that needed to go to bars and nag on every single girl until he found the one with such low self-esteem she'd come home with him. He does this to Nick and then turns it around to ask him if you need a mentor or a father figure, come find me. And then as he's walking away, he says, oh, and say hi to your mom for me. This is prime scumbag Cage, and it works so well to add on to the craziness he's doing with the fact that he thinks he's the TNT champion. 3 different storylines furthered in the span of a few minutes, so many plates spinning at once. Will they keep this going?
Yeah, spinning plates are good. I like spinning plates. Spinning plates are great. To spin plates, you have to spin plates quickly, and we're doing this really fast, and it's coming off too fast, at least to me. I wish we let this breathe a little bit more, particularly because we have Wayne versus Darby later on in the evening, and that one kind of felt weird to me. So I see where we're going. I see why we're doing what we're doing. I wish we pumped the brakes just a hair, or we had a little bit more of this previously.
Unlike ROH, AEW does open challenges where the champion actually defends the title on TV. I don't know if that's better or worse. I do enjoy these prove-it matches in ROH to get a title shot, but tonight we had Chris Statlander bring out an open challenge which was answered by, of all people, Emi Sakura. Unfortunately, for all the good things I'm going to talk about, this was the contractually obligated 1 women's match on the night, and it was second on the card. AEW needs, as we've said, to do this so much better, and if you watch our All Out review, you can get an idea of some of the ideas we presented to them for that. But this at least gave us a very fun match in this spot, and I want to go into why it was so good. Chris and Emi are powerhouses, each of them, and they went at each other blow for blow in inventive ways that didn't give each other an inch to breathe. It really was a different type of women's match than we usually see, where there is a clear larger presence and smaller presence that have to work different styles. Professor, did you feel the flow was good, or this was a good representation of how the women's division in general can be more creative or inventive?
Yeah. And we've talked about this at length, right? They just are. Women inherently find more creative ways to deal with their objective and all the actor things. Men in professional wrestling tend to see face, smash face, pout, cry. Like, women find different ways in and out. I thought this match was incredible. Book more women's matches, Tony Khan. What are you doing?
This match had my moment of the night. We have Emi Sakura on the outside with Chris Statlander propped up against the steel stairs. She takes a running start and does a flying crossbody that you can hear reverberate off that steel. And this was not an easy bump. This was definitely the hard way, and I give both performers credit for pulling it off so fluidly.
Yeah, F-R, and yeah. Me too, yeah. I felt they were a little stiff, dare I say snug, not dangerous, but they were trading some shots. I mean, nothing was botched, everything was safe, but there was a lot of good moments in here.
It seemed like something out of a Bryan Danielson match. That's how hard it was. And Emi has that veteran experience to be able to know where to pull things off, but she still has that recklessness of a green wrestler as well, where she doesn't care what she has to do with her body to make the spot look good.
I love watching Chris Statlander. I'll watch Chris Statlander every single time she's on, whatever she's on. I'll watch replays of it whenever I can as well. She's amazing.
You never can tell where her offense is coming from. And speaking of said out of nowhere offense, her being able to muscle Statlander up into that stalling backbreaker she uses usually as a finisher was incredible. I was more worried because Statlander is such a tall person that her head was going to bounce off the canvas or not get high enough, but Emmy had her up high enough where she was past her knees and easily flipped her over into that backbreaker. This, unsurprisingly, was my match of the night. This showcased what women wrestling can be when you're able to give it time and allow them to play on different styles together. Amazing.
I think the women would be more inventive if they just got more opportunities and more time, because every time they get a shot, they do more with it because they're used to the uphill battle of having to make something out of nothing. That's a great trait to have when all of a sudden it's like, okay, have 10 minutes when you're used to 4. More women on the card. More women on the card. Put more women on the card.
Oh, Professor, by the way, did you catch what Chris Statlander said down the camera after she won the title?
I believe she said TBS champion anytime, anywhere, something like that, right? Let me roll it back. Hang on. She just said TBS champion. TBS champion! She said TBS champion.
Well, I didn't expect you to pull up the actual clip. We might get cited for that, hopefully not. But after that, she said she would defend this title anytime, anywhere, against anyone. And boy, did that send a little flare up for me. Can we please treat the TBS title in the same way we treated, say, the hardcore title in the Attitude Era?
Huh. Go on.
Where it is defended anywhere at any time.
Yes.
But not in the unstructured morass of people like the 24/7 title was. You would have this be structured where it would be a pre-tape maybe. Chris gets attacked in a Denny's or in a hotel lobby.
Hi, did you have the moons over my hammy? Oh, Jesus!
Maybe I'm completely off the mark here, John, but I feel like this would be a cool, inventive way to get this title over. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. AEW Creative was right doing the MJF Adam Cole buddy cop thing. This would be gold. Put Chris Statlander out there in the wild and defend the title 100 different ways. Get the women involved. Like you said, go to restaurants, go to truck stops, go to gas stations, go to elementary schools, go to old folks' homes, go to playgrounds, go to, I don't know, anywhere you want, and just ding ding, all hell breaks loose. That would be so much fun. But, you know, around here, if it makes sense, nobody's gonna do it.
We go backstage for a pre-taped interview with Roderick Strong and the Kingdom flanking him in a weird V formation. I can't tell if Roddy's emotion work here was actually a work, or he was generally trying to get us to care about it. It was so over the top, it felt completely fake. If they were going for that type of thing, I would say that this got over, but if not, AEW has now made me completely not be able to care about him as a performer.
Roderick Strong, I want to like you. I really want to like you. And as we found out in a few matches, you're a good wrestler. You sell and you're really solid at this. Whoever's directing Roderick Strong for these promos, or maybe he has no direction, have totally led him astray. He's overacting the wrong bits. He's coming off as a whiny, petulant child, throwing a tantrum. He's lost all his power. If you're going to be put in a character that is pining over someone else, you can't play it as, you wounded me, I'm gonna wound you back. You immediately come off as submissive and whiny and not interesting. Unless that's the character, but I don't think that's where they wanted this to go. What he should have done is flip the script, play this cool, confident, and collected, make it more of a betrayal. That promo we had a little while back when it was all three of these guys in the ring yelling at Adam Cole and kind of gaslighting a little bit, took so much power and air out of this storyline for the three of them.
I really hate harping on people's flaws, but this pre-taped promo proved that Roddy really doesn't have any skill on the mic and really is just a great in-ring performer. Even his pre-taped promos fall flat. It seems like he's overacting for the sake of overacting, and it takes away from the narrative. This match proves my point. Aussie Open is being wasted by AEW.
Completely wasted. They're so good.
I don't know how Tony Khan can book one of the most prolific tag teams on the international scene, part of the biggest stable in most companies, and feed them to cobble together tag teams of main eventers or jobbers that don't know if they can coexist over and over and over again. This is Vince McMahon levels of tag team booking, which is strange in a company that was ostensibly built on the back of tag team philosophy. How is this okay?
This match had no business being this good, in my opinion. I like Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara together. Them working with Aussie Open was fantastic. I was very impressed by all of them. We kind of ran into that two heel teams fighting each other, who do I root for thing. And they're both doing heel tricks to kind of get the audience involved, and the audience wasn't sure where to go. They're amazing, and you're absolutely right. Aussie Open should be doing bigger, badder things than this. That's just my opinion. They're great.
I know we have to further the Jericho-Sammy storyline, but you could have given them anyone but Aussie Open.
I mean, it probably shouldn't have been. It probably just should have been a squash, right? Find some local Indiana talent and beat them up for 4 minutes. Give them a shot. Making it Aussie Open, you kind of just screw over Aussie Open and just misuse them even more. Give them something else to do.
You could have had them do a promo instead of Aussie Open. I know I've been negative. Here's a few things I liked about this match, because again, we had good performers in it. First off, Don Callis bragging about the fact that he helped take down Kenny Omega in that kind of Christian Cage way. Very entertaining. I also loved, as we went to commercial, Jericho looking straight down the lens and giving us that devious smirk. Professor, I know that you and I, if we were wrestlers or managers or anything else, that would be us on camera every night looking straight at the audience and smirking, right?
If you and I could stay in character and we're actually managing and trying to tell a story, I think you and I could totally do it. It would take years of practice to not laugh at each other and the horrible things we would say and do to each other.
I also noticed here that Aussie Open seemed to be going to the Shawn Michaels level of overselling, like when he was up against Hogan. Maybe this was a protest because they were being booked so bad? I don't know.
I kind of noticed that. I kind of noticed there was a little bit of overselling at one point and they were a little more animated. I don't know. I could take that either way.
I know they're booking Jericho versus Sammy at Grand Slam, and that's where they want to get to. It needed to be streamlined. This didn't need to happen here. You could have had miscommunication in so many other ways and then gone right to having them break up at Grand Slam and fight each other.
I don't understand the ending of this match, and maybe you can enlighten me on it a little bit. Yeah, there were some miscues. Yeah, some things went wrong, but Sammy was sort of overreacting to Chris Jericho. I didn't buy any of it. It again came off as whiny Roderick Storm almost. We made a mistake. Oh, but we still won. I didn't buy it.
The Sex Gods do win this match with some miscommunication involved, Jericho pulling off the Judas effect, and he celebrates without knowing that Sammy's been beat up. So Sammy gets pissed, they push each other, there's a pull-apart brawl, and Sammy storms out.
I love the Starks-Danielson promo right before this moment. That got me fired up. I'm happy to see Starks getting the push.
I also agree, Professor. The Ricky Starks pre-tape promo was amazing. In Defeat, he's having his Stone Cold Steve Austin moment where he's cutting that impassioned promo after the match, saying things like, "Don't give me a piece of bread and tell me I've had a full meal. I'm still hungry for the entire feast." Beautifully written, beautifully performed. Ricky Starks is a huge star, and we're going to be excited to see where he goes. We cut backstage again to have Renee holding down the fort as one of the best interviewers in the business, talking with Don Callis and Takeshita. They bring up the fact again that they defeated Kenny Omega and proved what a fraud he is. Callis is going full-on megalomaniac. I'm loving this bit of it. Renee then notices there's a painting next to them, and she tries to get a peek and is shooed away by both of them, and Takeshita's facial moments are hysterical, waving his finger at her. But Don Callis says that painting is of their next target, and they'll reveal it next week on Dynamite. And then they just give Renee crap as they walk away for being a nosy little reporter. Now, if you didn't catch our All Out review, why are you watching this? Go back and watch it and come here. But in that, there was a really great point made by Luis that I fully agree with. When MJF is put up against an epic promo talent in the ring, he really flounders quite a bit, and the holes in his game that are there are fully exposed.
You're absolutely right. I think that MJF gets in his head a little bit when he's doing these promos, and when he's up against someone who has an A game that's equal to or greater than his, there's some holes in it. It gets a little clunky, dare I say. He's trying to hit the comedy beats. He's trying to hit the jokes. I think he hit the jokes a little too hard, and Samoa Joe just kind of sat there confidently and whatever, call me whatever names you want. Audience having to pick up the joke from MJF, yelling, "The tiny dick!" and making it a chant. I felt like that was almost willing MJF to a win in this promo battle, whereas Samoa Joe didn't need anybody to go toe-to-toe. However, the second half of this promo was fire.
During this promo, we kept coming back again and again to Joe turning it back on Max and calling him a kid in order to get under the champ's skin, which he does, and Max starts to blow up, then pulls back, ends up with those corny jokes, as John said, and in general just couldn't hang with Joe. He had trouble keeping up with him in terms of timing and intensity, and it really showed as Joe was calm, cool, and collected, handling both Max on the mic and the unruly crowd who were yelling things like "F you, Joe." I haven't heard "F you, Joe" chants like that since I was at Elimination Chamber during Roman Reigns' entrance.
I think it's interesting now that AEW is sort of calling out the other promotion the last month or two, and then all of a sudden they started dropping NXT and WWE references and talking about William Regal and talking about behind the scenes at the other organization. The battle lines are drawn. I think this is directly related to Triple H calling AEW a secondary promotion in the Cody Rhodes documentary that was on Peacock. And now we're not sugarcoating it anymore. We're calling it out where we see it. And when we see it, I'm kind of interested in this. I think MJF sort of landed, I guess this is the second shot across the bow, if Triple H's was the first shot across the bow, or this was the returning fire, I want to say. Because now we all know where everyone stands, and we're going to go right back to the Monday Night Wars of the late 90s, early 2000s, because AEW is underrated, absolutely underrated by WWE and the reach and pull, and they don't want to acknowledge the fact that AEW is doing what it's doing. Granted, it has its flaws, it's not booking the women properly, but as an international property, dude, AEW is an international property and they're killing it in a whole lot of other markets.
I also had a decent nitpick about one of the moments in this promo battle. This is for more of a continuity thing for me again. I like to see good story. I like to see things that make sense. MJF finishes his catchphrase. It says, "I'm better than you, baby." And then, for dramatic effect, flips the microphone onto the ground. And in the back of my head, I'm screaming, "Max, this is Samoa Joe. You've just given away your ability to retort against him just for a piece of a moment. He's going to eviscerate you now and you have no recourse to come back at," which is what happened. I get they wanted the dramatic effect of this, but was it worth it? I think it was poorly planned. Joe then announces he's going to be joining the tournament to qualify to go against MJF for the title. Joe begins to beat up Max. There's a pull-apart brawl here. Max gets hurt from an Uranagi on his neck. We further that storyline. So Joe is the ROH TV champion, right? And he defends that on ROH TV usually. We just had a big match at All Out to get his last challenger out of the way, who lost to him as well. Shane Taylor went down. Is Joe now focusing on AEW storylines still with this belt? What's going to happen if Joe gets to that final match holding the TV championship? Will we now have two of our top ROH champions in AEW storylines and not defending their belts on ROH TV, where it should be? I'm worried about this. I hope this gets resolved, but Joe seems like he's in a steamroll through most of this tournament. How we book this well, I don't know. Hey, Professor, we got the new trope again. As we had the fallout from that promo battle, Roderick Strong and the Kingdom make their entrance with Roderick Strong's new theme music, him yelling Adam.
Adam!
Adam!
I mean, I don't hate the wrinkle. It's an okay wrinkle. Picture-in-picture still screws a lot of stuff up, though.
There is a bit of a back and forth on the ramp between MJF and Roderick Strong and the Kingdom. Roddy makes his entrance into the ring. I think I'm enjoying this. It's different than you would have on other wrestling shows. It gets rid of some of the picture-in-picture nonsense, which is wonderful. And I honestly believe it doesn't give you a chance to breathe during the show, so you have to pay attention. That's what kept this moving tonight. We see Roderick Strong taking on Trent Beretta in a quarterfinal match to go in this tournament to face MJF at Grand Slam for his title. Both men are set on commentary to have extensive neck issues. Trent in real life, as he had neck surgery recently and also in the last couple of years. Roderick more recently, but in kayfabe, a good little bit of commentary magic to help this along.
I mean, I haven't even mentioned the commentary from last Dynamite because it was all over the place. I'm pretty sure I tuned everyone out about halfway through.
Professor, I did realize something watching this match, and I don't know why it took me so long to realize it. Roderick Strong seems to be the second coming of Dean Malenko. I mean, look at his ring attire, look at his moveset, look at his promo ability. The signs are all there. What do you think? Did you see it?
Oh man, don't say that. I love Dean Malenko, but Dean Malenko was stuck as Dean Malenko. I mean, you bring up an interesting point, and I do see exactly what you're saying. I think the difference being, and maybe I just need to know more about Roderick Strong, is that Dean Malenko could do anything, anywhere, anytime, in any country, with any wrestler, any place, anywhere, but was never the most solid in the promos and on the mic, and was always kind of one of the faction instead of the leader of the faction. With that being said, Roderick Strong is stuck. What are you going to do with this whiny neck brace kid? No, I'm saying kid, he could probably whip my ass, so I'm just saying.
This match felt like an ROH Pure Rules match. There was a fluidity to the entire match and kind of a narrative that worked. Prime example would be flowing from a hold to a strike to a floating backbreaker in the span of less than 30 seconds. I did enjoy this match for what it was, and after everything was said and done, Beretta loses, and the Kingdom come diving into the ring like emergency personnel to automatically shove Roddy's neck brace back on him to keep that on because, his neck is so bad after this incredible match. That bit of comedy wrestling really helped me at the end.
You know, I absolutely agree with you. I love this match. I love that catch wrestling style. They were going move to move to move. It was really, really fluid. What took me out of it is I knew that Beretta was going to lose. Even though I really liked what I saw from Beretta, I don't think I've seen him in the last year and a half that I've been watching Dynamite. Really solid, really sound match. And once the match is over, we go back to whiny, cryy, I need my neck brace, Roderick. It's like, I don't buy that though. No, you're right. It's classic 80s kayfabe neck brace stuff. It just drives me nuts because I've seen it. Maybe that's what you're seeing. It's working on me and I'm getting pissed off at it.
I didn't know I needed more character development from this specific character, but as we cut backstage again to a promo with Renee and Toni Storm, we get Toni diving even farther into the madness and paranoia that her character has now gotten. Toni can't remember interfering in Ruby Soho's match. All on her mind is the betrayal of her friends and that her career isn't going anywhere, and she's really just gotta get back on that horse and start something new. Then she delivers her catchphrase to Renee. Remember, Renee, chin up, tits out, and watch out for the shoe.
Did you know you could say tits on TBS? I had no idea you could say tits on TBS. Is that what the T is? They just never told us it was tits and bullshit? Is that the thing? If that's true, I really want to be the TBS champion.
And on cue, Toni exits and throws a shoe at Renee.
I love this Toni Storm character. I think it's a blast. I can't wait to see her in the ring. The more she develops this character and what this character is going to do. I think they need to let her off the leash. I think they're holding her back. Go. Be crazy. Do more. Give her that Adam Cole MJF promo money. Go to costume shops. Go to film studios. Go all in on this. I think you would get a lot of good results.
These two are the buddy cop comedy that needs to replace Adam and MJF once they go away. The relationship between these two backstage reminds me of Lexi and Athena on ROH, which I think they're copying wholesale, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So Professor, at this part of the night, as we come into the next promo that's going to happen, I had another one of these aha moments about this show. I realized that there had been just as many promos on this night as there kind of had been on Promo Fest 2023 Night 2 Electric Boogaloo, but yet it didn't feel bogged down or overburdened by them. The momentum kept moving. Did it feel like that to you?
Yeah, looking back on it, preparing for this, there were just as many promos, but it didn't feel like Promo Fest 3, Sharknado. It felt like there was a reason for every promo, and I was opinionated. I was like, love it or hate it. It didn't drag on. We got to the next thing. So you're right, that's a good call.
Adam Page has come down to the ring with Tony Schiavone to talk about the fact that he won the overbooked Battle Royal and donated $50,000 of Tony Khan's money to the Chicago Public Education Fund. Now, as we find out, there are many reasons he did this. It's a great charity, people need help in the education system, but we find out that Page was actually a high school teacher as well, so he's got a personal stake in giving money to those kids, which honestly made me respect him more, because knowing how hard that job is, as you know, Professor, as a college professor, being an educator can be very tough on a limited budget, so any little bit helps. As they're talking about this in the ring, Swerve's music hits, and out comes one of the best managers in the business, Prince Nana, to dance his way down the ramp in the funniest fashion. Swerve gets in the ring to start to eviscerate Hangman Adam Page. Swerve growls through the entirety of this promo, keeping kayfabe as he talks about the fact that he's been in a coffin for 2 weeks and missed out on a ton. But he knows that Adam Page was on the pre-show, and he calls out what we as fans have been asking. Why was this big name there? And it seems to Swerve like Adam is getting complacent with his spot on the card. He's okay with letting the Elite drive his career, and he'll just ride in the back and go wherever they go. He hasn't had a singles match in quite a while. He hasn't had new merch in the store in over a year. If Swerve had been given that opportunity and that spot, he'd now be the first black AEW champion. The personal touches that Swerve always adds to his promos are great, but here they were exceptional.
I totally agree with you. It gives Swerve something to do. It gives Adam Page something to do that's not a part of the Elite and anything else. I remember we were on the group text, and I believe I texted you about this because I was trying to think, does Swerve and Hangman have any kind of history ever for any reason? And this is new. And then along comes Brian Cage, and of course we know that there's that history. I agree. I think they got off to a rough start, feeling each other out for this promo, but in the end, I'm like, okay, where are we going? This is something new and different. Keep doing new things and different things.
As this is coming to a close, Swerve tells Hangman he's got 3 options. 1, walk away and do nothing, don't worry about it. 2, get out of Swerve's way and give him the opportunity that Hangman's been languishing on and allow Swerve to flourish. Or 3, fight Swerve to prove who deserves that opportunity and give Swerve the chance to take it from him. Show people what Cowboy S-Word is all about. Page tries to leave, gets out of the ring, and Swerve brings up the fact that of course he walks away. He does like what this is. It's too easy for him, and he now can show his family and his girls what a failure truly is. This, of course, fires up Page, who goes back into the ring, and before they can get at it, Brian Cage appears out of nowhere to destroy Hangman Adam Page because he's got a history with Page anyways, and being one of Swerve's lackeys, he can break him. Another storyline set up, a dynamic between 3 different wrestlers at the same time, and furthering the character of Swerve, who is the mastermind going against all the babyfaces in the company, and while he may lose a lot, gives them a piece of that darkness they've been missing. We've made it to our main event. Seeing as this is the main event, I still was unsure whether this would cap off the night in a good way or a kind of dud way. In a babyface versus babyface match, you tend to run into that trope of who will go dark to win first. But here, for at least the majority of it, both performers stayed true to themselves and kind of didn't want to go to that edge. This is Editing John here. Unfortunately, the Professor's feed had some major corruption at this point, and we lost a bunch of his thoughts on this match, so I will fill them in as we do here, and just enjoy this picture of the Professor in one of his best poses. What Professor wanted to say here was he believes that Nick Wayne needs a new gimmick or some sort of hook at this point to make people care about him. We get the pedigree, but it's still not enough. There isn't really a reason for us to get behind him. Professor, that was a salient point. I'm so glad you said it in such a beautiful way. Now, Darby pulled off the first scary spot in this match, which was a tope to the outside where Nick Samoa Joe'd him, noped out of the way, and Darby ran right into the guardrail. But it was scarier because I noticed on the replay, Darby didn't hit the guardrail first. He landed square on his head on the mat on the outside and then rebounded into the guardrail. What is with all of these on the head spots in AEW lately? Chair shots, Kenny Omega being dropped on his head, and now Darby, who's usually quite reckless, actually landing on his head. I did find it kind of funny though, that having Doc Samson and the training team come down, they had ostensibly paused the match to check on Darby like you would for someone who's busted wide open. Commentary sold the same thing, saying that that was the case, but the crowd kept counting the 10 count, trying to give Nick Wayne the count-out win. And Darby, whether on instinct or whether this was just him trolling the crowd, would get up on occasion to break the 10 count and then roll back outside to be looked at by trainers. So this could be a mix of both where the head injury was real, but also he knew he had to keep the match moving. We all knew how this was going to end, or at least we thought so, because Darby's back has been so bad from the coffin drop and everything else, and with Roderick Strong winning, who's the messiah of the backbreaker and Dean Malenko 2.0, you were going to have his backbreakers against Darby's bad back. However, I will say both of them had me guessing that a couple of times where Nick had some hope spots that I almost believed he was going to win. This match was great as it was, but then we had some more overbooking fun as Christian Cage and Luchasaurus enter to commentary to add more flavor to the match. Christian continues to bring up the fact that he's out here just to scout his competition, get a good look at them. And Tony Schiavone, this was runner-up for my line of the night. He turns to Christian Cage and says, well, there's a great way now to get a good look at people on TV. On a monitor. In the back. Bring me more sassy Schiavone every week. This was priceless, and Christian actually fumbled a bit to come back to it. So having Christian and Luchasaurus out there paid off seeds that we had planted earlier in the night of how this was going to run, distracting both of them. It was really cool to see then that Darby, realizing what was happening, decided that he wasn't going to use his finisher, but he had to beat Nick somehow. And he went very brutal. He pulled Nick up into this deltoid stretch that had his head positioned toward the ground and kicked Nick Wayne in the head repeatedly until he was deemed passed out and the referee called for the match. Darby brutally attacked his protege. Will this lead to more division between Nick and Darby? Probably, but at least it furthers it, and I want to see what's going to happen next. So, that was the fallout from All Out Dynamite. This one felt more vibrant and fluid than Promo Fest 2023 Night 2. The matches were crisp, they weren't too long, the promos furthered things and had good momentum, and I loved the changing pace of having people's entrances interrupted by other storylines coming through. It truly feels, in a post-CM Punk landscape, that Tony Khan is falling back on the tropes and the practices that got AEW here in the first place. The hope is that he can build up new stars to fill in these gaps, and also when these other stars come back from injury, they're going to have an amazing battle of these brilliant performers who have a chance now. This truly was, as Luis said on the All Out pay-per-view review, the Austin takes his ball and go home moment where the mid-card and the other wrestlers on the card step up their game to save the company. The only things that were a downside, obviously, is that while we have this growth, Tony Khan continues to not be able to book his women's division in any shape or form. We had a plethora of ideas on the All Out pay-per-view review on how they could book the women's pay-per-view, do things on the side of it. Go back and listen to that because Tony Khan needs to at least experiment a bit more. And it seemed like from how this Dynamite was structured, there was a push toward experimentation. Let's take it further. Editing John here again. With the professor out, he sent me his review of this and he said, I watched a show. But he also said that it was about a 7.5 mini on the scale. Yes, he's still upset about how the women's division is being booked, but he's giving it a 7.5. Wow, Professor, controversial. I mean, all those things you said about the women's division, I can't even believe that. But for me, this would have been a 7.5 show. With the fact that we had one women's match and one promo, and still didn't get much pushed from any of that, it drops it to a 6.5. I'm sick of this spinning of the wheels with the women's division. It needs to be fixed, or else this is going to continue to go downhill. So that was Dynamite. That was the review, and we had a blast with you going over it, didn't we, Professor? If you liked what you saw here, or you didn't, follow us on all the socials at BC WrestlePod. We're on YouTube, Instagram, and all those places. Share our videos, subscribe, leave us a comment about anything in the world. We'd love to talk to you. I'm also able to be found at the JV Lexicon and all the socials there, and I'd love to hear from you, what you like, what you don't. Please interact with me there. The professor would say that he would love to speak to you, but he's still trying to figure out how to get rid of his old Instagram handle and socials handle because it is indecipherable and no one can ever find him.
I'm the professor. I'm in my office.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching with us. And remember, you're Biconic. We're Biconic. And our love of this art form is sacred. Let's share it together. We'll see you on the next video.
Bad blogging.